This is Democracy Now!, the Quarantine Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh. We end today's show with a stunning story about the Proud Boys, the violent, Trump-supporting, far-right hate group that took part in the Capitol insurrection 3 weeks ago. Reuters revealed Wednesday the group's leader, Enrique Tarrio, has a past as a prolific informer for federal and local law enforcement, repeatedly working undercover for investigators. Reuters cites the transcript of a 2014 court hearing where a prosecutor argued for a reduced sentence for Tarrio in a case by telling the judge, quote, "I've never had a client as prolific in terms of cooperating in any respect." He's talking about cooperating with the government. The news comes just over 3 weeks after Tarrio was arrested in Washington prior to the insurrection for burning a Black Lives Matter banner at a historically black church in Washington, D.C. during a December protest. Tarrio also faced weapons charges because he had illegal high-capacity magazines of ammunition on him at the time of the arrest. Enrique Tarrio has led the Proud Boys since 2018. For more, we're joined by Aram Roston, investigative journalist at Reuters. His exclusive report is headlined, "Proud Boys leader was prolific informer for law enforcement." So, Aram, talk about the significance of what you found, who exactly he is, and also interesting that he was arrested right before the insurrection, so he couldn't take part in it. Tell us the story from the beginning.
So, Enrique Tarrio is, of course, the leader of the Proud Boys. He's very high profile now. We've all seen him in videos of leading the Proud Boys in Portland or Washington, D.C. and in prior rallies, they call them. Of a hearing he had for a 2012 case, a criminal case in Miami, a federal case in Miami. In that hearing, as you mentioned, it was an effort to reduce his sentence, a 30-month sentence, by telling a federal judge about the extent of his cooperation. The federal prosecutor, an FBI agent, and his own defense lawyer listed sort of numerous cases in which Enrique Tarrio had cooperated with local authorities and investigations, including multiple undercover investigations. They said. And on the federal level, they said he helped put prosecute 13 people on federal cases. We thought the significance was because, of course, his current organization, the Proud Boys, is very closely linked to this, to the investigations that's going on now by the FBI and to what happened at Capitol Hill on January 6th.
So. Enrique Tarrio told Reuters, quote, "I don't know any of this. I don't recall any of this." But after your story broke, he wrote on Telegram, quote, "The article sensationalizes the fact that in this case there was some heavy cooperating." He went on to say he had, quote, "addressed this before in podcasts and other interviews," unquote. Tarrio also wrote, quote, "They've proven that if you cooperate with the U.S. government, they will hang you out to dry. So my question is it worth it?" Can you talk about his response and also the history of the Proud Boys, who they are, this violent, white, supremacist, male, chauvinist, murderous group, killed law enforcement in Oakland, California, for example, Officer Underwood?
Well, I'm not sure if the Proud Boys was involved in that case or not. But
Boogaloo Boys, that's right, Boogaloo Boys.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The Boogaloos, which are a different sort of movement. That said, the Proud Boys have been involved in many violent clashes, and obviously in the January 6th case, they were founded really in 2016 as this sort of opposition to what the so-called political correctness and this idea that it would give men who were silenced a voice and these sort of things. And it was they often call themselves a drinking club, and then they'll say the drinking club with a patriotism problem. That's the way they often define themselves. But they've been evolved into a pretty powerful political force, and you've seen them. Enrique Tarrio he's been photographed with numerous, sort of political heavyweights. He took over in 2018, and when I say took over, he was elected as their chairman. He's the most vocal person affiliated with them. He's the most recognizable person with them. You mentioned his response here. It's clearly at odds. We're relying on a federal, a court hearing, a transcript of what actually happened in court. An assistant U.S. attorney, his own lawyer, and an FBI agent go through these issues of cooperation with the government, which included, as we said, his own lawyer described this undercover operation where he purportedly was trying to, again, at the lawyer said, at his own risk, to pay people to bring in sort of to agree to bring in people to do something illegal, and he was doing this undercover. So we thought this was significant because of the way the FBI is looking at him at the agency, at the Proud Boys now. You mentioned his criminal case. The first criminal, he was arrested in 2000 in January 4th, 2021, just days before January 6th, when everybody knew something was going to happen. People thought there was going to be a large rally at the time. That's what the public was told. He was arrested, and later the FBI said it was sort of his arrest was sort of part of an effort to preempt anything that might have happened. We don't know exactly what they mean. That's what they said. As you said, he was arrested on really a misdemeanor charge of burning this Black Lives Matter banner. He admitted to that on social media. He said he knew he was going to be arrested in D.C., yet he did have on him, according to the charging documents, and he had these high-capacity magazines, which are specifically and well known to be illegal in Washington, D.C. They were magazines, the rifle magazines, with Proud Boys insignia on them.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security has been warning of a heightened threat of domestic extremist violence from people angry at Trump's election defeat and inspired by the storming of the U.S. Capitol earlier this month. What role do you think the Proud Boys played in that and the larger threat of white supremacist violence in the U.S.? What will happen to this group now under the Biden administration?
It's really hard to see what will happen with them. I mean, clearly there's lots of groups out there. I mean, we've become so familiar with these 3 percenters, the Boogaloos, the Oath Keepers, and of course the Proud Boys. What role they played in this, I don't know, but it is clear from some of the arrests that took place in over the Capitol Hill riot that was. That results in 5 deaths. It is clear that at least 5 Proud Boy members or known Proud Boy members were arrested, and so they're embroiled. They're clearly part of that investigation.
And do you have any information that that Enrique Tarrio is an informant today?
No, certainly no. We do not have that information. And an informant is a term of art, right? He was helping police in many ways, but for the FBI likes to sort of have a specific sort of uses that term for a specific relationship they have with sources or informers. It's unclear, but he was clearly doing many things. As we said, he was just providing information, and back then he was providing information. He was going undercover for local police departments. But after that, we don't know what happened. We did say in the story, he told us that he had told police departments of upcoming rallies to be helpful. That is, it wasn't.
We have 5 seconds.
Well, it was we discussed that a little bit in the story where he said he had discussed certain things with law enforcement.